Welcome back, people, to another episode of Talking Reacher, a Reacher Amazon Prime show podcast. Here we are. My name is Adam Vale. I'm a senior editor over at the Coalition.
My name is Lawrence, aka a punk with toys on all the social medias.
Yes, and we are here for season 3, episode 3, number 2 with a bullet. So, quick housekeeping, people. If you have not watched this episode, please watch the episode because we will be doing a full recap, full spoilers. So it's already out now over on Amazon Prime. We highly encourage you watch that. And if you don't care, then fine, go ahead. You're going to be spoiled. We're going to really break down this episode. But also some housekeeping. Thanks again if you're following us either on the Coalition over on YouTube or if you're following us over on Spotify, just looking up Talking Reacher will come up. It's great. So you can put your comments, and this is all for engagement. This is going to be fun, just covering this crazy over-the-top show. This episode was definitely over the top. But also, yes, for you people on Spotify, you may notice something different on this one because we're just trying something out. And I'm going to put in a poll. We're doing video. If all goes well, you're seeing this on Spotify. So in the poll, just a quick question, whether you think audio is better or video on that platform. It'd be great if you can participate. Put your little comment there and let us know. That's something we're trying, something new, right? So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Thanks again for all the support. 3, 2, 1. This was crazy.
How much did in the last episode? I mean, a lot more action, and I think a bigger payoff at the end.
Yeah, definitely a bigger payoff. There was some. It's like I'm looking at my notes, and it's like what's blinding me with all this, it's just the swim. So I might as well, I mean, for anybody,
we'll get there for sure.
We'll get there, right? I mean, holy moly, it's like, all right. So, oh man, all right. So let's see. I don't know. I just keep thinking back. I just keep thinking back about it. Oh, I just got to bring this up. All right, we've seen a lot in this episode, and we were talking about this before we started recording. It's that when you're covering a show, you really take notes and you start putting things together. And when you're watching a show just for enjoyment, maybe there's some things that just go over your head that you don't even think twice about.
And you may throw them out there. Like you may throw it out there and mention like, oh, wow, that did seem to make a lot of sense. But when you're taking notes, and then you're nitpicking all these other things. And sometimes it sucks breaking down a show like that. I'll be 100% honest. I think you agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because then you start seeing things and thinking and overthinking and not really seeing for the show. So, for example, the whole thing with Angel Doll, right? We knew that was going to be a big part of this.
Yes.
What's going on with Angel Doll, right? So, we find out what we were thinking of. It's like, well, maybe what's going to happen is Reacher's going to call Duffy, say, hey, go back to Bazaar. I killed somebody, clean that up, right? But no, he decides to do it. And he's going to sneak out again the same way he did last time, which was already wacky, going through the window from that top of the roof and then working his way down, hanging off of everything. Doesn't make sense. But he does it again. And this is why I have to get this out the way because it's just so crazy. All right, so people, if you're listening, if anyone's from the Boston, Maine area, then maybe you're familiar with this. If you are, go ahead, comment and let us know. But from what we understand, with Cape Cod, I guess you have to take a bridge to get over there, and that's where this compound is because Reacher then strips down to his undies and he jumps in to the sea there just to get across to the other side so he can meet up with Duffy because he told her to meet me over there with fresh clothes and a vehicle because we have to go to Bazaar to do some cleanup. That right there is like, as I'm typing right now, I'm like, how is he gonna swim? And he does it, and he comes out Terminator style, just walking robotic up to her. Her mouth is open and she's like,
hey, wait, let's get to it, man. Like there was some stuff before that though.
Go for it then, because I'm just like,
You are really obsessed with this swimming, and I
this.
understand. All right. Well,
Oh,
so the episode starts where Reacher and Duke are talking, right? And this is he asks about Angel, and he's like, I don't know anything. Why don't you just call Angel? Angel's not answering. Of course, we know why Angel isn't answering is he has a receipt spike through his head. I
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
answer. I wouldn't answer the phone either.
This was in car.
And so trying to read my notes here quickly. So when they get back, they basically, Reacher is when he goes in, he's befriending the maid.
Yeah, the maid / cook or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And
she speaks French and he speaks French and says his
instead of his
mom's
mom, yeah,
his
yeah.
mom's from France. And we actually get to hear about, well, I'm sure it's not true, but we get to hear about both his parents in this episode.
Yeah, I think he snuck in some of the parent stuff in the other seasons too. And remember the dad with the military background, the whole thing with his
Yeah.
mother, season 1, all that stuff. So I think that's yeah. But she hates her job, and then he's trying to get info from her. And I guess that's why I was like flying over, because I was like, it didn't go anywhere really. But we feel that eventually it will. Like she's
Yeah.
going to play a role just like I think the bodyguard or the shadow, as we learn, who's being held by the DEA agents. That's going to come to play later on, probably play a major part. But yeah, so we find out that. We also find out that there's a mechanic who lives on the premise. But
yeah, that was kind of just thrown in there. But like, Reacher's he's trying to get as much out of Beck as possible, and Beck just is telling him like, you do what I tell you to do, right? I'm paying you to do because I haven't paid anything yet,
Yeah.
But he's basically he's trying to get as much out of him without it turning out, hey, you know what? I'm here to get info out of you. I'm not on your side. And then Reacher kind of like that scene ends, and then we see him talking to Neagley. And yeah, she's clearly he's on the phone with Neagley, and
she found the dirt on Duke and Paulie,
yeah,
and everybody there, and just they're all bad people. That's it.
Yeah.
That's just basically something we already knew. I don't think anyone assumed that these were good guys.
But she gives a rundown of Paulie, Duke, and Angel, which we know Angel is now. Well, it doesn't matter what he's done in the past; he's not going to be doing it again.
Yeah, and he pretty much tells her that he took care of that. She's like, "Thank you." I think he had like sexual assault or something like that in his rap sheet.
So she keeps trying to, hey, where are you at? Let me come help you. And then she puts two and two together that this is about Quinn. Where are you at? And he basically says, I'll call you back. Do not call. Now, why he doesn't want to bring her in, I have no idea. But
yeah,
to be honest, we know she's going to show up. I mean, there's no way we go 8 episodes and she doesn't show up kicking ass.
But if you recall, he was like that even in the first season. He's just very much a loner. And that sticks to his whole drifter mentality. Yeah, I do everything alone. I go alone. I don't care.
But he's not doing everything alone. He's doing everything with Susan.
Well, but that's not his choice, though. Remember? That's not his choice. They pulled him in when they came to his motel. He wasn't seeking out their help. They wanted his help.
That's true. But again, why wouldn't you? Again, why? And I think we are. Yeah, like you said, he's the loner, and that goes all the way back to the movies, right? Same issue with Tom Cruise's version of the character. He was the same way. So anyway,
we do know one thing though. He does provide some information here when she was trying to figure out, or who was it? Someone was trying to figure out. Oh, it's Duffy. With the whole thing with why go after Quinn. And it's because of not what Quinn did to him, but it did to Sergeant Dominique Cole.
Well,
and I'm sure.
Okay, well, first off, we gotta swim across, dude.
Yeah, see, there you go. I already did the swim, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you already did the
really, you know what? I think
you're hot over the swim.
It was not so much just a swim, but then even right after when she makes a little comment and it's like, oh, and then bleep, and then Reacher pops up. So to me, it's like it's trying to tell me, it's like, this is your starting point, buddy. This craziness that you just saw.
Yeah.
This crazy swim.
He ends up calling Susan, says, I need a car here. Now, we don't know how he's going to get there. we do see him leaving we see him leaving through the window.
Through the window, climbing off. I mean, just like you said, he doesn't even hide it. He just walks straight out. Doesn't even hunch.
I think later on in the episode, we kind of established like he's no longer locked in his room. So he doesn't even run. He doesn't sneak. I mean, this guy casts a huge shadow, and he just walks right across the grounds. And I understand it's a big place, but if I had a big place, and you do have some guards, someone would notice, the shadow, you would think. But he gets there, he strips down, and now he jumps in some really choppy water.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like they don't show us like, oh, hey, you know what? It's a small little river that he's got to swim across. We don't see it. It's dark.
Yeah, no, we don't see it.
Yeah, he swims across it, and he's in his undies, and he gets out, and he comes out of the woods, and Susan's sitting there waiting for him. Again, Susan is Duffy. He calls her Duffy. I call her Susan. Again, it was my ex's name, so I guess I'm used to saying Susan. Yeah, I think at this point I'd want to say Duffy rather than Susan. And as he's walking, she's looking at him, and again, if anyone works out, again, when there's the right shadows, and you're already muscular, it shows, and she's like, F me. Except for she didn't say that. I'm doing this for PG reasons.
Oh, yeah. And then that's when the big reacher, it was all intentional. Yeah. They put that all together.
Yeah, that was really like the beginning of the episode, right?
Yeah. And that's why, because I'm like, but then again, we're analyzing it, and I'm sure people at home, and even if I wasn't covering this, I would still have these questions of like, how long was that swim? How far was that swim?
I don't think that anyone wants that.
You're not even out of breath.
No one watched that and said, all right, come on, dude. He swam. I mean, even in Commando, he gets out. He gets out in a boat, okay? Mm-hmm. He gets out in one of the little dinghies, and he rows himself to where he needs to be before he suits up. So, anyway, she has the clothes. He completely strips down in front of her. And let's be honest, she got in that car and she was probably like, I need 5 minutes alone. Right? That might have made it PG-13.
Gives him the shirt. I love Maine.
I love Maine.
That was awesome.
So they pull up to Bazaar. That's where they're going. Now, during this time, they are talking. And this is where what you had said before. Where some of the stuff they were talking about, and this is where she says, what did he do to you?
Yeah. And then talks about Dominique Cole. We sort of see like a little flashback scene, not a lot. I thought they were going to go full-blown flashback Lost style, like, and then we see somebody. That didn't happen.
Quickly, the noise that you guys are hearing is no one dying, and it's my dog back there making all kinds of noise. So you're hearing that going, is everyone okay back there? It's just Roman back there sitting on his beanbag. You can see him right over there. So, all right. But this is where we find out that Quinn did something to obviously someone he cares about. Reacher is he's not an emotional man, but he cares about the people that are close to him.
Yeah. So, and like we know, he said a dispatch, which means kill. They thought they took care of this guy. They thought Quinn was out of the picture, so he's still trying to figure out where he fits in. And later on in this episode, we'll give our thoughts of what we think is going on.
Yeah.
But
so they pull up to Bazaar. That's what they keep calling this.
It's a warehouse. Like that's the thing. That's even bizarre. It's just a warehouse. Bizarre. When I think of that, I think of like a store, or something like that, like a factory, or at least even if it's maybe that's the name of the rug company, Bizarre. But it's just a warehouse.
They pull up to the fence, like I'm assuming behind it. Lights completely on. They're not incognito. They don't park, a couple streets over. Obviously, there's no cameras. Susan takes off her jacket, like climbs up the fence, throws it over the barbed wire, and then she climbs over. And then he climbs over. And this is where we see the "I Love Maine" shirt, which really I gave me a chuckle. I'm not gonna lie. Just because it's like this, it's huge. Because the guy's
Oh yeah. He's massive, and he doesn't even mention it. They don't even mention it. Like
no.
I thought maybe he's gonna say something about nice shirt, or something like that. But no.
So again, this is where Angel is, and they head in there, and she's like, "Is that blood on the floor?" Now, no one has been back there. Now, I guess we need to presume this is now less than 24 hours. They've gone back to the mansion. It's now nighttime. He's called, "I need a car here." He's reached out to Neagley. He swam across the river. They've driven there. Oh, and he did sleep. He did get sleep for a short amount of time.
Yeah. But the main reason why, it has to be within 24 hours because he had found out that they were going to go back over there because they had to do the big delivery. That's all the stuff. And he made a mess. So it definitely is within 24 hours. It's going into that night.
Yep. They get there and now they decide after he shows where he is. They're like, "We need to look for Teresa. We need to open everything up, but everything has to be turned back." So they're still looking for Teresa. They search the entire place. Oh, and then Susan does say, "What about him? He'll still be here when we get back."
Yeah. And also she uses his hand to unlock his computer, and she's like, "Oh, thanks for the hand," and she does that. That was a nice little comment.
So they search for that. They find nothing. Susan kind of flips out about it. Let me tell you something right now. That is true. That is true. Susan flips out about lots of things. Oh, wait a minute. Think about my again.
There we go.
Oh God, I guess Roman was too. And all of a sudden he says, "We need to unlock container 13."
And we see the reason why, because that one's not connected to the whole grid. It's out. So then he's like, "Hey, we could just dump the body there," because they were searching
the car and the body.
Yeah. And this is at this point, once I see that they're searching, I was like, why didn't she just bring Villa? Villy. Why didn't she just bring that made no sense. In fact, he didn't even pop up in this episode.
Yeah, he is.
He did? When?
When they do their
when they start talking about the retirement. That's right, in the car.
Yeah.
All right, forget it.
So put in the container, then they're cleaning it up, and she makes a comment about like they're cleaning up, and she says something like, "Seems like you do this a lot," and he's like, and she's like kind of realize, okay, and then all of a sudden the lights show up, and of course there's somebody there. Why wouldn't there be? And it's the two drivers that from the night before or the day before, I guess, that are meeting Angel there. Now he says, "Hey, you know what? If they see us, they're going to kill us." And she says, "Why don't we just kill them first?" Well, they can't do that. Again, this doesn't make any sense. They can't do that because any extra shells, then they'll know that something happened. So they wait for them to come in, then they kill them with their hands and crowbars, which I think is a bigger mess than picking up a few shells.
Well, that's the thing. It's that as we get later in the episode, we see that he had this whole other plan. In fact, he puts together that plan after the fact. But then he could have just shot him because he could have just said the same thing. It's like, oh, this was done by the people that were.
Yeah, it seemed like it would have been safer to do. And then after they end up, he ends up taking out the one, and then the one guy is about to kill Susan, and she's choking her, and then all of a sudden he gets a crowbar stuck right through him. Again, there's more blood to clean up.
It's a mess.
But then he says, "We're going to need container 14 also."
There you go.
I don't know why you couldn't just throw in container 13 too.
Yeah, exactly. Just dump them all in 13, but whatever.
That's going to start stinking. It's not going to take long for the heat. I mean, if he went swimming, it's got to be pretty hot, right?
I guess. I mean, yeah. If you think about it, he's always walking around with a t-shirt, so we can't really tell. But it looks like
and then he has his
else.
Jacket.
Later on, but everybody else seems to be walking around.
Yeah, and they get ice cream. So usually you get ice cream when it's nice out. Maybe not that ice cream.
Yeah. And then that's it. Then they swim. Well, he goes back to the
Goes
point
back.
where he had to go. They are upset. They didn't find Teresa. He's like, "Don't worry, we'll figure things out. I have to get back." And he strips down. But this time she turns around. She doesn't want to look, and
Yeah.
they get into a little awkward moment saying their goodbyes. And then he takes off and he goes for his swim again.
Yeah. So now he swims across. Now I know that if I swim a couple laps, I am exhausted. All right. Anyone that's actually gone swimming knows how it is an exhausting exercise. All right. There's a reason why when you see the Olympic swimmers, they're in
Oh yeah,
amazing, amazing cardio shape.
I remember Phelps talking about, they were like, "Oh, what do you eat? You must eat like all this high protein." He's like, "I just eat Chinese food and pizza." And I was like, "How could you do that?" He's like, "Do you see how I burn all this stuff off? All the laps? It
Yep.
doesn't stay in me long." He's like, "I go in the pool, I'm doing my 15 or whatever ridiculous amount of laps, and it's all gone. And he's good to go to eat another big meal."
And I've never seen a swimmer as big as Reacher.
Yeah, no. I don't know how he pulled that off. Not cramp up. Plus, you're not conditioned. It's not like he's swimming all the time.
Exactly.
His body is not, I didn't see him stretch.
I mean,
Overthinking.
we saw the pool at his motel. All right, he's not swimming.
Yeah. No, he wasn't doing laps. The guy wasn't. No. I mean, but then we brought this up in the last episode. We don't see him working out either. It would be nice if they come into the room and you just see him doing like some sit-ups or push-ups or something like that.
Well, they had the perfect time, and he pretty much just like who's it, right? Like, I'm not working out.
That's it.
But anyway, he swims across the lake, the river, whatever it is again. Now it's dawn, and he has to make it back. And I'm kind of glad they didn't show the process because we probably would have nitpicked again. But it's dawn, and now, I mean, it's very easy for everyone to notice, especially some guy climbing up the second story of a mansion.
I'm sure the cook, she must get up at like 5, right, to prepare breakfast for everyone.
She seemed very observant.
Yeah, very observant. So she knows, and I bet you it's going to come up later. And I bet you that's all fake with the accent and all that stuff. She's working for some other agency.
Why are there no cameras? Why are there no cameras? All right.
Yeah.
All this money that he has, and he doesn't have cameras around his house. I have fucking cameras in my house, and I live in a little townhouse. All right. So
yep. The only thing I could think of, and I thought about this after though, maybe because of all the shady shit, all the shady stuff that they do, right? Or because of that, that's why they don't want cameras.
You know what? That is,
right
there. Now, makes sense. In all honesty, that actually makes sense. Maybe whoever he's working for is like, there are no cameras. Because then we can kidnap your kid easier too.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? That's an actual logical reason why there wouldn't be cameras all over this estate.
Yeah, because it could be used against them later on.
Yeah.
If something happens, they're like, "Oh, you came in and out. You carried this body." Blah 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 blah. So there we go.
So anyway, he comes down the steps. Now, when he comes down the steps, I said to you, I go, does this mean that he's no longer locked in his room? Because remember, the first episode, which is only like a day or two earlier.
Yeah, he's moving up quick. He's moving quicker than Angel.
He comes down, and once again, he's kind of befriending the housekeeper.
The cloak lady, the housekeeper.
Yeah, whatever. It seems like kind of a few.
Yeah, but we find out that he has a new job now. Now he has to go out with Richard and take him into town, and then to go do whatever. And I was even curious, like, wait, what is this now? And it turns out that he's just gonna go buy. Richard wants to go buy a gift for his dad for his 50th birthday.
Yeah. So
right?
we have Zackery. Beck tells him, just watch my son. And as he's leaving, he almost runs down Paulie. On purpose.
Yeah. Paulie, who lives in that little guardhouse there.
The guard shack.
Yeah, the guard shack. It's pretty big. When they showed the second scene, the second frame where you can move to the far out, like it's from across the street, it's pretty big. It's not like one of those little checkpoints.
Doesn't he ask him, why does he let him live in your house? And he says he doesn't.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So he didn't say where he lives, but I'm assuming it's in that guard shack.
Yeah. And we get a lot more answers in this next scene.
Yeah. So at this point, Reacher is trying to talk to Richard. Hey, I saved your life now. Like, be honest with him. He's not just selling rugs, and he's fully not being honest with him yet. But he wants to go to this store. Now they go into the store, and it's like an old vintage toy store. And he says, I heard your generation doesn't want to grow up, and he says it's not for me. It's for my dad. And he says something like, "Aren't you too old for toys?"
Yeah, see, he wouldn't be our friend. He would not be. See,
and I was like,
be all
really?
supportive of
Because
Reacher.
I have a whole YouTube channel built around adult collectible toys. All right, so I was kind of like, you know what? I'm a little offended here, but I'm not because you have to choose to be offended. But then we find out that
it was a cap gun. It was like this
Richard
old timey cap gun.
That his dad he romanticizes basically about this Roy Rogers cap gun that he had as a kid. How someone would talk about a family dog or animal that they had. That this is, and that his dad would always yell at him for leaving the caps around, or so he wants to get this for him. Like, no matter everything that's going through this, and I said this on the last episode, it is clear that his dad cares for him. Like, his dad absolutely loves him, right? And he even says, I don't know why after everything, why I still try and do stuff for him. So he gives a call from the owner of the shop, says they got this beautiful Roy Rogers gun in. So he goes to pay for it, and then at that point, Reacher runs out and he gives Susan a call again.
He gave Susan a call, and he just wanted to clear things up, find out more info on well, basically what's happening, all this stuff. Then that's when he was like, all right, did you get any info from the laptop? Nothing, right? It's clean. But he figures, hey, you know what? How about this? Send an email from Angel's email address to Beck saying that he knows there's some info of the guys that were involved with the shooting, because that was the other issue. Also, we sort of went over it, but it didn't make too much sense to really go into it. But the whole thing where Beck and Duke were questioning the issue with the truck, because apparently Angel had some info to tell them, right, about the truck, and that it wasn't the same people that hit them before, and it was basically all that type of stuff that was going on. So at this point, he calls him. She tells Duffy, "Listen, send an email saying that this is where the people are being held up, right, coming from Angel, and then I'm going to help and move myself up." She was like, "How are you going to move yourself up?" I was like, "Well, I got to get rid of the second in command." So I guess that's where the title comes in, the number 2 with the bullet.
Number 2 with the bullet. It makes sense at the end.
Yeah, see, there you go. And we talked about, well, how does it make sense? Well, now we do, because remember, once we get there, we get there. But now it makes sense. There you go. So his whole point is he needs to get in with Bex to get more info, to find out more stuff, because we're going to get more stuff in our next scene over, because what happens, that call was taking too long, because then we got Biff and his friends that show up. Right? Right? Come on now. This is so random.
You know what? You're so right. And if you've never seen Back to the Future, then you don't know who Biff is. But if you've seen Back to the Future, Biff is the bully.
Yeah, with the 2 goons, and it's the same thing.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, he did have 2 goons, didn't he?
Yeah, he had 2 goons. He comes out, so then you see Richard go walk into the car, and then the bully shows up, and then he might as well say, "Hey, McFly," because he's like, "Hey, Richard, what are you doing here?" He's like, "What? Nothing." And then he's like, "Oh," and he gives a whole story. Now he does have his reason for bullying, though, because apparently there was a factory in town that Richard's dad, Zackery Beck, closed down and turned into a warehouse. So then everyone lost their job, and that includes the bully kid. He lost, and they had to move to a double wide trailer. While Richard's living up in a big mansion or whatever.
Yeah.
So now, he go ahead.
Well, he also doesn't see that he has a friend.
Oh yeah. We will get that. Yeah, not yet. I mean, once he knocks down the bag from Richard's hands and then just steps on it.
Yep.
Right, and then I don't recall if he hit him. I don't think he hit him.
No, but he grabbed him.
He grabbed him. Right?
And then all of a sudden you hear Reacher say something to them.
Yeah. He's like, "Wow, you're so," something about being ugly. It's like there's
Well,
sometimes, oh, it's not his fault. It's not his fault because of his dad's thing. Just like it's not your
yeah.
fault that you're ugly. It's just something you can't deal with. Now, here's where the disbelief comes in also. These are clearly like what 20, 21, 22 within that range, young adults.
Yeah. Well,
Reacher is a massive looking man. I'm sorry, I would not pick a fight with him.
but you know what? The bully there was a fairly big guy too.
I guess.
You know, and there's three of them. And
Mhm.
clearly they're used to it. But you would also think that they would never have said anything. Now he didn't say he was his bodyguard. He said,
That's right.
"Well, who are you?" He said, "I'm a friend." And of course that leads to the fight between the three of them.
Yeah,
It doesn't go very well. And this harkens back to if you saw the movies of Reacher, where he steps outside with four guys, and he was like, "All right, well, this is your last chance. You get to walk away." He's like, "All right, well, there's always one guy. Two of you guys are gonna run away." Like
yeah.
I love the fact that whether it's the same character or not, and I don't remember if they said it technically this is the same character. I don't think it is, but they're written the same way, in my opinion.
Well,
Other than
yeah.
like if four guys come out and they see Tom Cruise, I understand it. Three guys that see this guy here, I'm like, yeah.
And I wonder, maybe in the novel that is based off of, maybe there was more description that there were bigger guys. I don't know. I guess just the actors, it just didn't. He towered over all three of them. I can understand if there was like one that was close in height that was like, hey, you know what? I think I could take him. But no, he breaks their arms. I think the worst was was that the main bully that he smashed his head through the driver's side?
Yeah. So that guy he kind of dispatches and those away. The other two come at him. He ends up, I think, breaking the one guy's leg like right away.
Oh yeah. Oh.
He smashes their heads together, which was like not like in a comedy way, but like smashes, I think. And then he ends up taking the one guy, and he smashes his head through his, beat up pickup truck.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man! But the best part of that whole scene was hearing the woman in the background, like, oh my! It's like, all right, good. There are standbys watching this.
That was another thing that I said, and you laughed about it. They roll into town. I'm like, oh look, there's people here this time.
Yeah. Now there's people here because remember though, before they planned it out that the streets were supposed to be empty. I don't know how they planned it, but they knew it's going to be deserted.
I mean,
during the afternoon time, whatever. Maybe that was a Sunday. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I live in Michigan. I live in the Metro Detroit area. I can't think of too many places in the Metro Detroit area, which is pretty big, that would be that dead in the middle, at noon.
Yeah. And it looks like it's a main street. There's a lot of shops.
Yeah, it's a college town. Like there's
yeah.
And when you see how many people are in this one, it doesn't really make sense. But hey, you know what? Again, we were nitpicking. So I think that's something else other people would have picked out. Like, here's one out quickly, way off topic. My cousin says to me, and this goes back to the old DC movies, and not the old ones, but the recent ones. And he was like, you see the Marvel ones, and there's always something that's like during their big invasions, there's all these people. He goes, you ever notice in the DC, they always end up in a place that there's no one around. Abandoned building, abandoned, acres and stuff. Like they always have to move stuff, so they don't have to explain. That's kind of what this was. And I was like, I never noticed that with the DC films.
It would have been great if that woman was making all those noises, screamed, "Someone call the police!" Scream something like, "Oh yeah, that's right. There are law enforcement that are gonna, show up for something like this."
But nobody does because next scene we see is Richard coming out with ice cream.
Yeah, it's a bad ice cream.
Hands it to Reacher and he asks what kind it is, and he says it's the flavor of the day, which was lavender infused. And Reacher says, "That's why you get beat up." and he turns and he throws it in the garbage. Now, but at this point is where Reacher has truly befriended him. And now he's talking to him. He's like, "Hey, I've saved your life twice, right? You're gonna tell me what's really going on." My dad sells drugs. No, he doesn't. I need to know. I'm gonna, be your bodyguard. I need to know what's really going on. And fortunately, Richard starts kind of spilling his guts. And I apologize for my
It's all
daughter.
right. Yeah,
You
yeah.
hear it.
But
But my son has no idea, even though he knows I'm
Mhm.
doing this. He doesn't have any consideration, unfortunately, right now.
But this is where it comes up, where we find out what's really going on, and it's this name comes up, Julius McCabe,
Yes.
and this is the person that was behind the original kidnapping and with the ear situation
Yeah.
with Robert, and this is the person that is really running the operation, which brings back when Angel was saying that Zackery Beck is not the big boss. The big boss is this guy, this McCabe. Apparently, he wanted to get into the business, the shipping business there, and he forced his way in by taking over Beck's operation by kidnapping the son. That's how Beck was able to get his son back.
And the reason why he did it is he says, like, his dad was always bragging about how, hey, I get through customs because I pay people off. So he was bragging that he knew how to do this. So now all it was going to take is another guy that needed this stuff done. Now hey, here's a guy I can basically get in there, kidnap his son, basically control him, and he knows how to do all this stuff. And now I'm going to control his business, which is a legit business. Technically, it's usually
that's
laundering money, but now you're probably laundering guns or drugs.
Yeah, and that's the thing that Robert said. He's like, I don't think well, I don't know. He said, I don't know if it's drugs or guns or anything.
Yeah, we have no idea.
It's still, yeah. He said he's still just doing drugs. It's just my dad no longer has control over it. Now it's Abe, it's McGabe, and also all the people that work there, Paulie, Duke, and Angel, who's now deceased. They all work for McCabe. So that's the other thing that sort of threw me off with that is like you would think that with a big operation like that and with the property and stuff like that, Zackery would have some kind of security team. He has nobody.
And he even says that Paulie was the one that basically kidnapped Paulie was the kid and kept me in a trunk for like days. And that because he goes, why does he let him live in your house? And that's when we find out he doesn't let him live in the house. He is he's put in there by McCabe. And he's the one who kidnapped him. So he's basically the guy that's running that whole show inside. Like he's the one that's keeping an eye on, at least from what I can tell, Beck. But during this, like, when Richard is talking about like his dad, he's like, I don't know why I still care about him. And he says something, he says something to Richard about his dad. He goes, oh no, my dad was a great guy.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, my dad, my dad, do you know what it's like?" And usually someone says, "Yeah, just go." It's like, no, my dad was a great guy.
Which, this goes back to what we said in the first episode that we did. It's like he says stuff that's comical, but it's just straight laced, straight face, where it's not. I don't think he's not trying to make it funny. Is supposed to be thinking that it's comical. He's just very blunt. And when you're that big, you can be blunt about pretty much anything.
That's it. And then even when they leave, he's just talking about, it's like, oh yeah, and the only two flavors that matter are chocolate and vanilla. You shouldn't go outside of that. And he's like, what about strawberry? He's like, maybe in a pinch.
But they could have gone back in and got more ice cream.
Yeah, they could have went back in.
And but I'm sorry, I'm with the lavender infused. I probably would have threw it away too.
Oh man, I would have definitely not picked any of that stuff up. Yeah, I mean the most for me, Rocky Road. I do like Rocky Road, or vanilla chocolate chip. It's not too bad.
Yeah, but do you have Moose Tracks where you guys are at? We get Mackinac fudge. We get Mackinac fudge because of Mackinac Island in Michigan. They're known for fudge. All it is fudge in.
So fudge.
Yeah, which I mean, who doesn't love fudge and who doesn't love fudge and ice cream?
But you know what I was thinking? Now that I think about it, the fact that Richard just says vanilla and chocolate just shows straight to the point. Plain Jane keeps it, hey, this is simple. This like he only wears a t-shirt and one pair of pants and that's it. It's like it's just keep it simple.
There's nothing on his shirts.
Yeah, that's it. So,
it's just a plain Hanes t-shirt, man. He's not doing anything out of the ordinary. He doesn't stand out other than his size.
And in fact, you know what? Yeah, I almost went over that. He does bring up this lifestyle right before they leave.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he could teach him to be a
Oh,
drifter.
yeah, he said, "I'll teach you how to do it." He's like, "It's great," because the guy was like, "Oh, you get to go down. Is it all right?" He's like, "Oh, it's great. It's a great life." He's like, "I get to do anything I want, my own schedule. Just put a few bucks in my pocket. Don't have to stress over anything." He loves it. He's a pro
Yeah,
drifter, so
I don't know. I kind of like having Netflix and
yeah, yeah,
Amazon
yeah.
Prime and
But
toys.
yeah,
I
yeah.
also like having both my ears, so there's that too.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So well, they get back in the car, they head back over to the compound, and as soon as they get there, you got Zachary and Duke there saying, "Hey, we got a lead." Angel sent over an email saying that he knows where these guys are that attacked that tried to kidnap Robert. They're in his cabin out in the woods somewhere, so we got to go now. And he's like, "Oh well,
And he's like, I gotta take a piss.
he's
You have
got
2 minutes. Like, okay, he didn't just get back in with his son. You would think that maybe like they'd be like, yeah, go take a piss. I know they need to, but what does he do? I'll let you kind of. I have a feeling he's gonna be aggravated by this part too.
yeah, yeah." It's just him running into the house. Well, fast walking. I don't know if he
Downstairs.
ever really runs. Yeah, going all the way downstairs, going through the little kitchen area there where you see the housekeeper and the cook, goes through the screen door there, runs all the way down to the rocks. Right? Then from there, he looks into the bag where he had all the stuff and he gets the gun because that's it. This is it. This is his plan. He's going to take out Duke in this house. Right? And this is how he's going to become the number two. That's
Yeah.
the plan. So he grabs the gun. Then
But we
he
don't
comes
really
back.
we don't really know what he's gonna do with Duke's gun yet. We will find out.
Yeah, yeah, but we
I
know
thought
he's
it
got a
was gonna be
plan. He's got a plan.
Yeah.
Oh no, with Duke's gun, no, we don't know with that, but we
We're
do
not-
know with Angel's gun.
I'm sorry, with Angel's gun.
Yeah,
That's what I
Angel's
meant.
gun. Yeah. Oh, all right.
So
But
then he comes back. Now he has his jacket on, and when he comes in, like the head maid, that's the cook or whatever, she says something to him, and he thinks that it's going to be about how he came in with the jacket, and she basically tells him, "Don't come walking in my house without or walking in my kitchen without wiping your shoes." So he wipes his shoes. No one asked about the jacket, but to be honest, they probably weren't paying that much attention.
Yeah.
Then he comes
He
out.
he could have lied though. He could have just said that, oh, I left it outside. It was wet or some bullshit.
Yeah, I went for a swim last night.
Yeah, right. And he's like, yeah, we heard you. You're massive. Come on.
Yeah. We were here watching you climb up, and we're like, why doesn't it just come in and go up the stairs?
Exactly. Why don't you just walk down the stairs and open up the door. Whatever.
That'll be. I hope that
It's gonna come up. They
I hope
has
the
to
maid
come
is
up.
like, we were watching you, or wondering like, why don't you just come in the house and go? And as he comes out, they make reference of how long it took. Now I don't know. Like I said, I live in a small townhouse, and if I had to walk from my car in here, it's going to take me more than 2 minutes to take a leak, let alone to run across a state down an embankment of rocks to the water to pull out this gun and then run back in. That's probably why they were questioning. And wouldn't you have gone back in and be like, dude, what is taking you so long?
If it went that long, yeah, we don't really know the timing and all that. Maybe
we're just
we're thinking too much. We're nitpicking. I'm sure people listening was like, all right, get off the time. Who cares? It's just because they mentioned the time. If they said make it quick, then it's like, all right, whatever. But the fact that they threw in the number
2 minutes.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, okay. But whatever. He gets it done. They get in the car.
Right now, people are like, dude, why do you guys even watch this?
We like the show. We like the action, but with some things when it happens, it's thrown in your face. It's like been smacked in the face.
Yeah, like you brought up at the beginning, and again before we even started, I think it's just you start reviewing something, you're writing these notes down, and how we're not even breaking it down nearly as much as some of these other, YouTubers that break down like the trailers of like, the Fantastic Four and stuff like that, where they've broken everything down. Like minorly breaking stuff down.
This breaking this down sort of reminds me of like when you listen to a song and you're like, oh, it's a great song, everyone likes. But then when you look at the lyrics and you're like, wait a minute, what is he saying? What is happening here? You know, it's like a Dead Kennedy song or something. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, whoa, this is serious.
You mean like Alanis Morissette's Isn't It Ironic?
Yeah, isn't it ironic with all that? Yeah, with the theater.
And nothing in that song, if you guys don't know this yet, nothing in that song is ironic. It's all bad luck. It should be, isn't that bad luck? That should be the name of the song. I'm sorry. Go listen to the lyrics, read it. You'll be like, oh, yeah, this is all bad luck. This isn't ironic.
It's a lot. And it's one of those things where, you like the beat and stuff and you go with it. And you're like, okay, well, this is that same thing. You're watching it. If you're just watching going through, you're like, oh, this is great. But then when you start thinking about it or really breaking down certain parts, you're like, wait, this doesn't even make sense. What is happening? What's going on? But we got to put that aside. It's still entertaining. It's crazy to see him do this with a straight face, never get winded. He's doing all this running, no heavy breathing.
He doesn't, but he is taking the place of a character that Tom Cruise did, and we all know that guy runs in every movie, and never once have we seen him be out of breath.
He is the machine. All right, so this is it. This is the big part, right? This is the big story. So now they're all three of them in the car. Zackery is part of this. I was kind of surprised. I didn't think he was going to jump in on this, but then this is a question I have for you with this part then, because while he's in the back seat, Duke is driving, and they're talking about all this, and Zachary goes on this rant about how people keep changing, and he was talking about 1 minute where the women they're wearing Reeboks and they wear Nikes, and then they're using this type of gun and they're just changing for the sake of changing.
Yeah,
I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Yeah. And then also saying all these guys, they came after my son, they're gonna pay for it. I don't know. It just seemed like it was just
loyalty, no matter what it is. Because the whole thing is the guys that did this, he said they had an Uzi, and he's like they always use Mac 10s or Mac 9s, I forget what he said. But he's like, they don't even have, they're not even loyal to what guns they're using. I don't know why that matters.
That's what I'm saying. It's like he goes to this whole little monologue thing with the back. I'm like, well, what does this have to do with anything? I don't know.
But he really does get into that whole thing. Which, you're kind of right. I mean, and he's very heated about it, almost as heated as you were about swimming across.
Yeah.
About swimming in this.
Well, at least with that, we all see it. With this, we've never seen any member of this other crew, which is a real crew apparently. Because remember, that was the other thing. He knows of them, and he's like, "This isn't their MO. They don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't do that." And I was like, okay, well, we've never seen a member of that.
It's because who they made that license plate link back to.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
That's the biggest one.
So I'll let you go.
No, so they get to the house, right? We're out in the woods.
Well first, remember, Beck is like complaining about being like a dirt road, and he was like, "We're in the woods. What did you expect?" Yeah, like Duke is not like, he's like, oh, God, like, because Duke also says something to him too, doesn't he?
He says something that he tells him to shut up or something like that. Like he doesn't respect him, and so that again points that it's pretty obvious. You wouldn't say that to your boss if he's tagging along and he was armed, because it looked like he was going to get involved in this firefight, but he still says, he starts mouthing off. So that's how it. And this really does help Reacher in a way that it's more of luck, because what would have happened if Beck decided to also run in there? I don't think he planned on that, and that's something that would have been interesting if he would have pointed out, like when they all three get in the car and they're en route. It's like, all right, wait, you're coming with us?
I wouldn't be surprised if the next episode, when he's talking to either Susan or Neagley, they're like, well, what if he would have gone? He would have been like, I've met people like Beck. They don't go in. They don't get their hands.
They're big talkers. They're big talkers.
They pay everyone else. He has an arsenal of guns hung on his wall. You can tell they've never been fired. He's going to say something like that. I kind of get that feeling like, everything else is everything he does is calculated. So.
And then this is it. This is the best part, because then he gets up. He gets close to the house. It's dark. It's quiet. It's in the woods. Looks like Duke is getting cold feet here. Because
Yeah.
he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't do this. This is a trap.
Yeah, he's like,
Oh,
there's no cars there. I don't see
mm-hmm.
anything. And
Yeah, yeah.
he says, well, yeah, they're setting up a trap for us. They don't want us to see that they're there.
Yeah, they're
And
hiding the cars.
yeah, so he looks in the Reacher looks in the house, tells Duke who they are, like how many there are, which
6.
oddly enough, Duke doesn't even bother looking. All right,
No.
Duke doesn't even bother looking. But they go around. Reacher says, "I'll go in first." No. Second one always gets shot, which I didn't understand. Like that, I was like,
Yeah, I don't know, but maybe that is a thing. Maybe that's why Reacher said that, because he knew that Duke was gonna want to be number one, just like Duke and GI Joe. Always got to be number one. Always got to be number one. Right? No Flint. No. It's Duke. It's Duke.
Don't get me started, all right?
Right?
We don't have that much time, all right? We're at 50 minutes now, all right? I go another 50 minutes. I'm like, Duke should not have been in charge of G.I. Joe.
That's why they killed him off in the second movie.
Anyone that's in the channel knows I'm pretty much a G.I. Joe channel, or a very highly detailed G.I. Joe channel. So they go in, they clear the house. I don't know why it takes Duke so long to figure out there's nobody there.
Yeah, he's running through. He made it through to the kitchen and realized there's nobody there.
Yeah, because he told them exactly, like, there's 6 people here.
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden you see Reacher. He's got the gun to his head, to his back. He's like, he tells him exactly how to turn around and hand him the gun. Remove your trigger finger and hold the barrel with your left hand. Turn around, hand it to me. And then Duke. Oh, you're a Fed. Now, he never says if he's a Fed or a cop or anything. He says, oh, I should have known you're one of the Feds. And he's like, he asks about Teresa, and Duke says, oh, that's her real name. So they don't even know what her real name is.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, we don't know. We don't even know her cover name.
Yeah,
I think that was it.
Yeah, so Duke's like, if you think that I'm gonna be a rat or whatever, you can't do anything. The worst thing you're gonna do is take me in, and this and that. You're not gonna shoot me,
because McCabe would kill them. The people that he worked for, they would definitely kill him. But he's like, you're just gonna take me in. I already know you played your last card, your hand.
And I think at this point, they're probably gonna say something. Reacher's gonna be like, he was never gonna talk, so he just shoots him.
Yeah, there's
and
the bullet.
That right there is the name of the episode.
Number 2 with a bullet. That's how he did it. One bullet to the head.
So that's how he's going to end up becoming number 2. He shoots up the place. Now Beck is sitting there. He's hearing all the shots. Reacher is firing the pistol and the submachine gun, that bullpup all at once. And then he shoots up Angel's gun. And then he hits himself in the face. Now, I don't think Beck was smart enough to have realized, but he hits himself in the face almost the same way that he made Paulie punch himself.
Yeah.
And then he blows the place up.
Yeah, he puts a bunch of stuff in the stove. He disconnects the gas line. And, of course, he runs out. Kaboom. The whole place goes up.
All he has is Angel's gun that he took over. And this is what he's going to use to tie everything to Angel to make himself number 2. So he comes running out, sees Beck, jumps in the car, get in the car, he takes off, and he says, what happened? He tells him, what about Duke? He's like, Duke's dead. He got shot. And again, this is also a house that, no one's going to be going looking at. There's no reason for them to look at it because it was specifically set up by the Feds, even though she's working alone. So whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot of weird things. We got to put that out. But he also cleans up another loose end, which was those 2 drivers that he killed.
Yes.
So by saying that they were there.
So Beck asked him all the questions, what's going on. He hands him the gun, which he made sure to empty it so there weren't any bullets. And he said, one of the guys dropped this, and he says something. I forget how he asked, but he goes, "Oh, come to think about it, 2 of the guys They look like the
Yeah, you
guys.
have to if you recognize
Really
anyone. They
switched.
see him. He's like, yeah, it looks
Yeah.
like two of the guys that were over there. And then he was like, then Zach filled in the rest. Like, oh yeah, they didn't even show up. They were
Yep.
missing today. This makes perfect sense.
So now he's cleaned up these loose ends, and this is where he's told, "Well, it looks like I have a new number 2."
Yeah. And that's it for that part. The only thing that we didn't really go into, and it was a very small part, it was just interrogation. That we still got that bodyguard, the shadow.
Oh yeah, I
We
forgot
found out.
that.
Yeah, we still had the shadow that's being held by the rookie DEA agent back at that safe house area.
Well,
Still tied up to a chair. Still,
it's explained that the bodyguard is not there to guard him. He's there to watch him,
yeah.
so he doesn't go anywhere because basically that is how they're keeping Beck under control. If his son was to get away, he might just, break away.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It breaks away.
The bodyguard isn't technically there to protect him. He's there to make sure that he stays alive. So Beck is always at their becking call.
And I think he's also playing dumb. He's playing it like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
nobody. Yeah. No. That's
Yeah, we also forgot to mention that Susan and Billy, when they leave Elliot with him, they go and spy on it. Now this is where she sees Paulie for the first time. They both say, "Wow, they don't make like where do they make that?" She's like, those people are made in a lab or something.
Yeah.
But then we see somebody get out, and she says, "That's McCabe." But I'm pretty sure McCabe is Quinn.
Yeah, and that's our theory, people. So you could also leave in the comments if you agree with that. But
Yeah,
I think
we
this
have
is
to go
what
back
we're
and
going
watch it. Sure, if we went back and watched it, we'd be like, "Yes, same actor." It's not the same actor, but we didn't do that.
No, but we did. You did notice on the IMDb page there is no mention of a McCabe.
There's no McCabe. There's only Quinn.
There's only Quinn. So it makes sense that if a person that is supposed to be dead comes back, you don't come back as that name. You would pick up
and
a
there's
new
no
identity.
there's no other Asian in the cast here under a different name where you'd be like, okay, well maybe that's who it is, but he has an alias. But it makes sense why Quinn would have an alias. Probably has numerous aliases.
Yeah, definitely. But now we're putting it together. So this whole time, well, Reacher doesn't know, but from what we know, it looks like this is what he's been up to, Quinn. He's now running this other operation with probably some other crazy ex-cons and other issues, these guys that we've met. And this is it. Now, what we don't know is what he's smuggling. What is it? Is it drugs? Is it guns? Who knows? It could be all kinds of things. It could be human trafficking. It could be anything.
Reacher must know. Why else is he after Quinn, right? He's got to know something that he's up to. Human trafficking actually kind of sounds like it could be, considering they're looking for Teresa. Yeah. But I mean, what would be the other reason? I kind of think that Teresa may, because we saw the food down there. I still think there's going to be a connection between Teresa and Richard because they're of the same age. I have a feeling there's going to be some sort of connection between them.
You think she's still alive?
Yeah, they've talked about her too much. I think that would have been a loose end that was already wrapped up or something hinted at more. Because there hasn't been any, like they were feeding her, they were taking care of her, they need her for something.
At first I thought maybe Richard helped get her out in a
way. That's what I had originally thought too.
But then he would have told Reacher when they were coming clean about everything. He would say, wow, you did a great job protecting me here. Can you protect this person? Because we don't know her name that he did. But remember, Duke didn't even know. He's like, oh, that's her real name. So we don't even know.
Yeah. And Richard, it seems like he's finally, he finally trusts another man. And this guy's kind of, he's basically using him for this information to get what he wants. So. But all in all, this episode was, in my opinion, better than last episode.
It was definitely better. There was a lot more action in this episode, a lot more just story building and just cleaning things up. Like now, here it is. He cleaned up the mess with the angel. He cleaned up the mess with the new mess that he made by killing the 2 drivers. So those things aren't lingering because that's always the issue with it. And we talked about it before we start recording, how shows don't like to clean things up. and
Yeah,
they just like, well, let's look past that.
and here we are 3 episodes into it, and they've already killed, 2 of the 3 main goons that we've been introduced to.
Yeah.
So
And
do more get introduced? Obviously, I would assume that Paulie is going to be, either killed off, I would say, either in the second from last episode or the last episode.
yeah, he's got to be part of the big fight.
Yeah.
That's it, because everybody's going to want to see them square off, and they're going to have to make that interesting.
Yeah, and then that was another thing when he was talking to Neegly about it, and he says that this guy's bigger than me, and she was like, well, I've only seen one other person that's bigger than you, and obviously it was something that goes back to, with their history. But all in all, I enjoy it. Again, it is weird watching it when you're going to be breaking stuff down. You see things that you probably wouldn't. But that's the whole point of doing this, right?
Yeah. And that is the whole point of the deep discussion about this, because the viewers and people that are tuning in or listening are probably picking up on stuff that they didn't when they watched it, because they're like, oh yeah, you're right, what happened here, what's going on. So that's the whole point of this, and it was fun. All right, everybody. Well, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, I hope that, like, if you guys are seeing something, or how maybe we've said something like maybe we didn't understand, that you're like, no, hey, listen here, this is what I think, or no, you missed this. Please tell us in the comments, because we want to be able to we want to be on board with everyone else.
Yeah. And then we'll bring it up. We'll bring it up, point it out, and if we got something wrong, we'll bring that up too. It's like, that's it. I mean, we're just like you guys are watching this. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in to Talking Reacher, and we'll be back for episode 4 when that comes out. So this has been great. So
did you want to give a rating? You said last time.
Oh, see, there you go. See, that's right. I forgot. So between the 3 and 5 stars. I'm gonna go just like I did last week, because even though there was more action, it's getting there. So I'll still stick with a 3.5. I'm hoping the next episodes just I just keep comparing to season 2. Season 2 was so off the wall. Like it was.
But we also had lots of people, of military style people in the last one. I give this one a 3.5. I give the last one a 3. There were I would give it a 4. I would have given it a 4 if there weren't things that just the swimming. Okay, come on. I just don't believe that you could swim across that whatever, however long it is, go do what you had to do, clean up, kill 2 people in that process, hide them, come back there, climb back. Like, I'm sorry.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff that you just should not.
With very little sleep.
Way to explain it, right? So there's a few inconsistencies. I would have went with a 4, but I'll go with the 3.5. I don't hate it. Again, I'm enjoying the show. Believe it or not, guys, we are enjoying the show.
Yeah. It is good. It's a good show. It's fun to watch. All right, everybody. We will be back next week for episode 4. All right. Peace.
Take care.